Tay stood at the big window of the Galactic Council building, his eyes fixed on the blue planet called Earth. He had worked with humans for many years. As the main person who talked to them, he found them strange but very smart. But now something was wrong. For 3 weeks, no one from Earth had sent any messages. Any news? Asked Hannah as she walked up to stand next to him. She was the top scientist for the council. Her silver clothes caught the blue light from the Earth picture. Nothing, said Tay, his voice tight with worry. No radio messages, no talking, nothing from their bases on Mars or Europa. It's like they all decided to stop talking to everyone else in space at the same time. Hannah moved her fingers across her data screen. The council is getting nervous. Humans have always been hard to guess. Some members think this might mean they are planning to attack us. Tay shook his head. I worked with them for 20 years. They are loud and full of feelings. Sometimes they do things without thinking, but they always say what they plan to do. This quiet is not like them at all. The council room had been busy with meetings since the silence began. The older alien races, the Draconians, the Vesperi, the Aquari had all said they should take action right away. They remembered how fast humans had grown after they joined the space community. How they learned in days things that took other races hundreds of years to understand. The High Counselor wants to see. You said, Hannah, they are thinking about sending ships to Earth to look around, ships to look around that could make humans think we are attacking them. If they are just having problems with their machines. And if they are planning something? Asked Hannah, her eyes reflecting the stars. The Draconians are already getting their defense systems ready. They remember how humans fought in the Proxima conflict. The Proxima conflict had been short but shocking when settlers from Earth were threatened by the greedy Draconians. The human response had been fast and crushing. What was supposed to be an easy win turned into a big loss for one of the oldest races in the galaxy. I need to talk to the council, said Tay, turning toward the big doors. We need to send a small team first. Not a fleet. I will lead it. As Tay entered the huge council room, talks got quiet. People from over 300 different alien races turned to look at him. Some curious, others scared. High Counselor June stood in the center, his ancient face serious. Ty, perhaps you can explain why your humans have stopped talking. The council is worried. With respect, High Counselor, they are not my humans, and I know as little as anyone else about what is happening, said Tay, but I do know that a military response is too soon. Draconian Ambassador Quan stood up, his scaly skin shining under the room lights. Too soon. The last time humans went quiet, they came back with quantum moving technology that they would not share. They are making something. And it seems like it is for war. Sounds of agreement moved through the room. We do not know that. Ty argued their pattern has been to openly share most new things they make. The times they kept things secret have been few but important. Quan said back there, progress in working with AI alone would have greatly changed power balance if they had not put limits on themselves. What if they removed those limits? The room grew tense. Everyone remembered how human AI systems had shown abilities that seemed almost like seeing the future during trade talks. Yuri, the Vesperi representative, buzzed as she spoke. There have been strange energy readings from their platforms near Jupiter. Whatever they are doing is using massive power. Tay looked to Hannah for confirmation. She nodded slightly. This was new information to him. I suggest, said Tay firmly, that before we do anything that might seem like an attack, we send a small diplomatic team to Earth. I will lead it myself. High Counselor June thought about this. Your connection to humanity makes you both the best and worst choice for such a mission. Tay, but I agree that diplomacy must come first. You will leave tomorrow with a small team. As the council meeting continued talking about the details of the mission, Ty's personal message device vibrated. It was a message from Sang, his old friend who had stopped working for the council to live on Earth. The message was short, secret, and scary. Do not come Earth, not safe. They are building something that will change everything. The silence is protection. Tay stared at the message, his mind racing. Protection. From what, and what could humans possibly be building that needed such secrecy, such power, and that could change everything? As he looked back at the arguing council, he realized humanity's silence had already done one thing. It had made the most powerful beings in the galaxy afraid, and afraid beings often made dangerous decisions. Tomorrow he would go to Earth looking for answers, hoping He was not already too late to stop a terrible misunderstanding between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. Humans were always strange among the stars. They came late to the galactic community, but they learned too fast for the comfort of the older races. They took alien ideas and made them better. They saw problems and fixed them in ways no one had tried before. They were loud and emotional and unpredictable. But now they were silent, and that scared everyone more than their noise ever. Had they wondered as he prepared for the mission, what could make such a noisy species go so quiet? What threat or discovery could be so big that they would cut themselves off from their trading partners and allies? Even the human colonies on other planets had stopped all messages. Sang was one of the few aliens who had chosen to live among humans. He understood them better than most. He loved their art, their music, their constant need to improve and change. If he was scared enough to send that warning, then whatever was happening on Earth was truly dangerous. Hannah joined Tai as he packed for the mission. I have checked all the data we have. She said the energy readings from Jupiter started 3 weeks ago, exactly when the silence began, and they have been growing stronger every day. And no signs of weapons or ships being built. Asked Tai. No. But they could be hiding such things. The humans have always been good at keeping secrets when they want to. As night fell on the council world, Tai stood on his balcony looking up at the stars somewhere out there. Earth was working on something in secret. Something big enough to need all their attention and energy. Something they thought needed protection. Tomorrow he would find out what. It was or die trying. As he watched the stars, he wondered if any of them had already gone dark. If some danger was moving through the galaxy that only humans had noticed. The morning would bring answers or more questions. But one thing was certain. The galaxy was holding its breath, waiting to find out why humanity had gone silent, and what would happen when they spoke again. The room was huge and filled with humans working at many screens and machines. Tai and his team stood at the entrance trying to understand what they were seeing everywhere. People moved with urgent purpose, their faces serious and tired. Director. So we'll explain, said Sang, leading them toward a woman whose strong presence was clear even from across the room. Director Seo turned as they approached her. Eyes were sharp, looking at them quickly before she held out her hand in the human greeting. Wei, thank you for coming, Envoy Tai. Though I understand it was not by our invitation, I am Director Yoon, the leader of the Earth Response Team. Tai accepted the handshake. The Galactic Council is worried about humanity's sudden silence. We have come looking for answers, and you will have them. Director Seo promised, though I am afraid once you understand what we are facing, you will wish you had stayed in your not knowing. She pointed to a meeting room away from the main floor. Please join me. What I am about to share is known only to Earth governments and a few friends from other species. Once seated in the quiet of the meeting room, Director Seo turned on a secure image display. A dark, swirling mass appeared, seeming to eat the light around it. 3 months ago, our deep space watchers detected something coming from the center of the galaxy. She began. At first, we thought it was just an unusual space event. But then we realized it was moving against the gravity flow, speeding up, changing direction. It was being guided. Ji leaned forward. Professional curiosity beating his worry. Some kind of ship, a new species. We wish it were that simple. Sang said softly. Director Seo's face darkened. We call it the Void. It's not a ship. It's not a species as we understand them. Our best studies suggest it's a mixed thing. Partly living, partly machine, partly something else. Something that exists partly outside normal space-time. The image zoomed out, showing the path of the thing through several star systems in its path. The stars were simply gone. It does not destroy planets or eat energy in any way we understand. Director Seo continued. It seems to delete reality itself, erasing matter and energy from existence. The few pieces of data we have received from automatic probes suggest it's growing as it travels. Tai felt cold fear settling in his stomach. How long until it reaches populated systems? At its current path and speed, it will reach the Zendi system in about 6 months. Earth in 9. The core worlds of the Galactic Council in 12. Yun spoke up, her military training, clear in her exact questions. Why has Earth not told the Council together? Our species have faced threats before. Director Seo and Sang exchanged a look that Tai could not quite understand. Because our scientists discovered something important. Director Seo replied, the thing responds to certain types of communication technology. especially the quantum connection systems that form the backbone of galactic communications. They attracted, possibly even speeded up. Understanding came to Tay, so you went silent to avoid drawing it directly to us. Yes, she confirmed. We have had to rewire our entire civilization in weeks, going back to older technologies for essential functions while keeping surface. Normal, the energy your council detected around Jupiter is being used to power something we believe might be our only hope. She changed the image display to show a huge building project inside Jupiter's orbit. It appeared to be a vast ring filled with technology Tay did not recognize. This is Project Aegis. It's based on theory work that's been ongoing for decades, but we never had reason to build it until now. It's designed to create a layered quantum field that can basically divert the void. By making our section of the galaxy uninteresting to it, a space invisibility cloak, G whispered, impressed. Despite the dire situation. Basically, yes. Director SEO nodded. But it needs massive energy and exact timing, and even then our models only give it a 62 chance of success. Day, who had been quietly watching until now, finally spoke. Why not tell the council? Surely with the combined resources of all species. Politics, Sang answered bluntly. How long would debates in the council take? How many species would panic trying to develop their own solutions? How many would simply run away, potentially drawing the void's attention with them? We needed to act decisively without the interference of 300 opinions. Tay understood the reasoning but could not fully agree with it. The council exists precisely for threats like this. Together, we might develop better solutions. Perhaps Director SEO acknowledged. But there's another factor. Our scientists believe the void may be sensitive to certain types of mind networks, particularly the group minds like the Vesperi or the Aquari. If they became aware of it, they might accidentally call it to them. Tay finished the thought. Exactly, Director Seos. Look was steady. We took a careful risk. Humanity went silent to work on Aegis without attracting either the void or causing galactic panic. But now that you're here, we need to decide what happens next. Hyun sat up straight in her seat. You're not planning to keep us here? Sang laughed for the first time since their arrival, though it held little humor. Keep representatives of the Galactic Council. No, we are not that foolish, but we do ask for your help. We need you to return to the Council with a carefully created message. Director Seo explained. One that will prepare them without causing the very panic we've been trying to avoid if Aegis fails. The entire galaxy needs to be ready with a backup plan. If it succeeds, they need to be prepared for the after effects of such a massive quantum change. Tay looked at his team. Seeing the weight of this revelation in their faces, they had come seeking answers about humanity's silence, only to discover a threat to all existence and a desperate plan to counter it. Show us everything, Tay decided. All your data, all your models. If we are to support your approach to the Council, we need to understand it completely. Director SEO nodded, relief clear in her posture. Thank you. But there's one more thing you should see before we continue. She led them back to the main floor and toward a heavily secured door at the far end of the facility. After multiple biological scans, the door opened to reveal a darkened room. In the center, hanging in a containment field, floated a small piece of absolute darkness. Not black, but an absence so complete it hurt to look at it. A sample, G asked, his voice barely audible. Yes. Director CO confirmed. Taken at great cost from the edge of the phenomenon, 17 scientists died to secure this specimen and the data. It provided. This is what we're fighting, not an enemy to be talked with or defeated in battle. Not a natural disaster to be endured. This is nullification of existence itself. He stared at the void piece. He understood with perfect clarity why humanity had gone silent in the face of such a threat. What choice did they have if the thing was drawn to the very technologies that connected the galactic community? It was a terrible choice. Silence and secrecy, or risk attracting the destroyer to them, even faster. The sample of void seemed to pull at Tay's eyes, not like a black hole pulling with gravity, but with something deeper, something that his mind could not quite grasp. It was as if that small piece of nothingness was an open wound in reality itself. It's beautiful in a terrible way. G whispered, his scientific mind clearly both horrified and fascinated. It's an abomination, hissed Hyun, her hand instinctively moving to her weapon, though what good a stunner would do against such a thing they did not know. How did you even contain it? Day asked, his antenna pulled flat against his head in distress. We didn't exactly. Director CO admitted it's not truly contained, just slowed the field around it as a temporal buffer, freezing it in a moment of time. The power requirements to maintain even this small sample are enormous every day. We keep it here gives our scientists more data, but they estimate we have perhaps 2 weeks before it breaks free of the field. So you want us to take this information back to the council? Ty said, his eyes still fixed on the void sample. Get them to prepare for either outcome success or failure. Yes, but carefully said. Director CO, the message must be crafted to avoid panic. We cannot have ships fleeing in all directions, creating quantum noise that might draw the void faster. Tay finally turned away from the sample. How many know the full truth? On Earth, fewer than 200 people. Director CO replied, in our off-world colonies, perhaps 50. The secret has been kept because it must be. And now the 4 of us. Ty added. Sang put a hand on his old friend's shoulder. You were always going to know, Ty. I made sure you were chosen for this mission. If anyone can convince the council to act wisely, it's you. Tay nodded, realizing now why the council had selected him. Despite his close ties to humanity, Sang must have used his remaining connections to influence the choice. Come, said Director CO. We have much to show you before you return to the council. Everything we know about the void, everything we have tried, everything we hope Aegis will do. The time for secrets between us is over. As they followed her deeper into the facility, Tay understood that humanity's silence had not been from fear or aggression, but from desperate hope. They had gone quiet, trying to save everyone, even those who now suspected them. The ship Harmony raced back toward Galactic Council space, pushing its engines beyond safe limits on the bridge. Tay reviewed the data package Director CO had given him. One final time, it contained everything: the first detection of the void humanities, research the Aegis project details, and a carefully worded message for the council message system ready. Day reported, though I must say, using this outdated radio technology feels like going back to the Stone Age. Director CO's team had refitted Harmony with pre-quantum communication systems, slower but undetectable to the void, according to their research. Better old than dead, Hyun remarked dryly from her security station. She hadn't relaxed since their departure from Earth, constantly scanning for any sign of unusual events. Ji looked up from his calculations. I have been reviewing their data on the Aegis project. It's brilliant but terrifying in what it means if it works. It will basically phase our entire sector of the galaxy slightly out of sync with normal spacetime. And if it fails? Ty asked, though he already knew the answer. The energy backlash could speed up the void's progress instead of diverting it. Ji admitted humanity is taking a huge gamble. Ty turned to the window, watching. The stars streak by. That's what humans do when faced with impossible situations. They create new ideas. They take risks that other species would consider unthinkable. We are approaching the Centauri waypoint, announced the ship's pilot. We will need to slow to safe speeds to pass through. The Centauri waypoint was the busiest travel hub between Earth's region and the Central Council systems, normally full of ships from dozens of species. It would be their first chance to see how the rest of the galaxy was reacting to humanity's silence as they dropped out of fast travel. The scene that greeted them was one of controlled chaos. Military vessels from several species patrolled in formation, significantly more than normal for a civilian waypoint. We are being called. Day reported multiple channels. Priority request from Draconian command ship. Unyielding scale. Tay took a deep breath, put them through on the main screen. But remember, no quantum connection communications. Use only the refitted systems. The screen lit up, showing the scaled face of Admiral Kwan, the same Draconian who had argued for military action in the council chamber. Envoy Tai. The Admiral's voice rumbled. Your return is timely. The council has voted in your absence. A combined fleet is being assembled to secure the Sol system. Tay felt his blood run cold. On what grounds? Admiral intelligence suggests humanity is developing a weapon of unprecedented scale. The energy readings from Jupiter have tripled since your departure. The council voted 172 to 142 to establish a protective presence around Earth until their intentions are clarified. A blockade, you mean? Tai countered. Admiral, I must speak with the full council immediately. The situation is far more complex and more dangerous Then anyone realizes, Admiral Kwan's eyes narrowed. You've been in contact with them, what have they told you? The truth, Admiral. But it's not what you think. Earth isn't building a weapon against the Council, or any species they're trying to save us all after. A tense moment, Admiral Kwan nodded. You will be escorted to Council space. The High Counselor will want to hear your report before the fleet departs. You have 6 hours. The transmission ended, and Tay turned to his team. We need to prepare the Council. Must be convinced quickly there's no time for their usual long talks. The Council chamber was packed beyond its limit. Word had spread that the human envoy had returned with news, and people from every species had crowded in to hear it firsthand. High Counselor June called for order as Tay approached the central platform. Envoy. Tay, you have requested this emergency meeting. The Council recognizes your right to speak before we finalize our response to Earth's. Continued silence. Tay looked out at the sea of faces, some curious, some hostile, all anxious. High Counselor honored representatives. I bring news from Earth that will change our understanding of the challenges we face as a galactic community. He activated the special projector G had, prepared displaying the void's progress through the galaxy. Core gasps and whispers filled the chamber. This entity, which humans have called the Void, represents a threat unlike anything in our recorded histories. It does not conquer. It does not negotiate. It simply erases stars, planets, matter, energy, all vanish in its wake. For the next hour, Tay presented the human data, explaining their findings, their theories about the Void's sensitivity to quantum communications, and finally, the Aegis Project. Humanity didn't go silent to hide a weapon. He concluded they went silent to avoid attracting this entity, while they built our best hope for survival. The Aegis Project is designed to shield not just Earth but all our worlds from detection. The chamber erupted. In overlapping voices, questions, objections, expressions of disbelief. High Counselor June had to hit his ceremonial staff 3 times to restore order. These claims are extraordinary. The High Counselor stated, what proof can you offer? T nodded to G, who stepped forward with a secured container with proper containment protocols. I present a sample of the entity recovered by human scientists at the cost of 17 lives, under strict supervision from security personnel. G activated the containment field. The fragment of the Void, that disturbing absence of everything, floated above the center of the Council chamber. Silence fell, more complete than any Tai had ever experienced in the usually noisy chamber. By the first light, whispered High Counselor June, his ancient face pale. It's nothing, absolute nothing. Vesperi scientist Yuri approached the containment field, her compound eyes reflecting the impossible darkness. The readings, this breaks fundamental laws of physics. Matter and energy cannot simply cease to exist, and yet that is precisely what we are observing, completed Min, the Aquari ambassador, her liquid voice trembling slightly. I can feel the wrongness of it. Even from here, Admiral Kwan pushed forward. If this threat is real, then a combined fleet is still the answer. We must destroy this entity before it reaches populated systems. That's been tried. Tay explained. The human data includes records of the automatic defense systems from the systems the Void has already crossed. Conventional weapons, energy projections, even antimatter explosions. All were simply absorbed without effect. Attacking it directly may only speed up its advance. Then what do you propose? Demanded Ambassador Kwan. Hide behind this human shield and hope it works. What if their Aegis project fails? Then we will need a unified response from all species. Tai answered firmly. But first we must call off the fleet headed to Earth. Any interference with the Aegis project at this stage could be catastrophic. High Counselor June raised his hand for silence, his expression grave as he studied the disturbing Void sample. After a long moment he spoke. I have lived for 700 years, and served on this council for 5. In that time I have seen wars between star sicknesses that ate worlds and space disasters that changed the paths of planets, but never have I witnessed anything like this. He turned to face the gathered representatives. I move that we stop the fleet action against Earth, and instead offer all possible help to the Aegis project. The vote was not unanimous. Fear drove some species to still favor military action, but the majority ruled in favor of working together. The combined fleet would be repurposed to establish early warning systems and evacuation plans for worlds in the Void's potential path as The council meeting ended to allow special committees to begin work. Tai received an urgent communication from Earth, a simple text message through the primitive radio system. Read Aegis timeline speeded up, void changing course, moving faster. Activation in 72 hours, get as many ships as possible behind Earth's solar plane, tell them to prepare for light. Tai looked up from the message to see Admiral Quan approaching. You're humans, the Admiral said without greeting. They knew about this threat for months and said nothing. They feared panic would only make things worse. Tai replied, perhaps they were wrong to keep it secret, but their intention was to protect, not endanger, Admiral. Quan's scaled face was unreadable. My ancestors fought against humans in the Proxima conflict. They spoke of human warfare with a mixture of fear and respect. They said humans don't fight like other species. They don't seek to conquer or control, they fight to end threats permanently and decisively. That's true, Tai acknowledged. Then I will trust their approach now. The Admiral decided my fleet will coordinate with Earth scientists. If this Aegis fails, we will need a final line of defense as Admiral. Quan walked away. Tai felt the weight of 300 worlds looking to him for guidance. The diplomatic envoy had become the crucial link between humanity's desperate gamble and the galaxy's survival. And in just 72 hours they would know if silence had been enough to save them all. The next hours were a blur of activity. The Council moving with unprecedented speed, mobilizing resources, preparing contingency plans. Thousands of ships converged on the safety zone behind Earth's solar plane, just as the humans had requested. Tai worked without rest, coordinating between the human scientists and the Council, making sure everyone understood what was at stake but still keeping the full horror of their situation contained to avoid panic as the countdown to Aegis activation reached 24 hours. Tai received another message from Director Seo. It was brief and chilling. Void acceleration increasing, new data suggests sentient direction. It knows what we're doing. The ship named Harmony dropped out of fast travel at the edge of the Sol system. Tai stood on the bridge watching as the big planet Jupiter came into view. Scanning for activity around the Jupiter platforms, said G, the technology expert of the Yao mission. Unlike most tech people who liked working from screens, G liked to be where decisions were made. The energy readings are amazing. They are using power in a way I have never seen before. Hyun, the security officer, frowned as she looked at the defense screen. No patrol ships, no defense systems. The human military that usually guards their outer system buildings is completely gone. This was getting more worrying every minute. Humans were known to be very protective of their space after the Proxima conflict. They had kept a strong defense network throughout their system. The missing defense network was as alarming as the silence itself. Any answer to our calls, Tai asked. Though he already knew the answer, none said. The communications officer, his antenna moved with frustration. I tried all normal channels and the emergency ones, not even automatic responses. The message from Sang weighed heavily on Tai's mind. Earth not safe. What did that mean? Was there some threat to Earth that the rest of the galaxy did not know about, or had humans themselves become the threat? We will go to Earth, Tai decided. But slowly, I want constant scans and be ready to jump back to fast travel, if needed. As Harmony moved past Mars, they saw the same strange silence around the human colonies there. The great domes that held millions of people were still visible, still working, but no ships moved between them. No messages came from their communication towers. Life signs detected, G reported with clear relief. The colonies still have people, but there's something strange about their power use. It's all going inward. Nothing going to outside systems except life support. Like they are saving energy, Hyun suggested, or sending it to something else. 4 hours later, Earth came into view, the blue-green jewel that had created one of the youngest yet most important species in the galactic community from orbit. It looked peaceful. Unchanged cities still glowed on the night side. The big space platforms still moved in their normal paths. Still no answer to calls, Day confirmed, but wait, I am detecting local communications on the planet. They are talking to each other, just not to us. Can you hear any of it? Tai asked. No, it's all heavily protected new systems we have not seen before. Tai made his decision. We will land at the International Spaceport in Geneva. It's the official place for visitors from space. And if any place is still watching for off-world visitors, it would be there. The trip down through Earth's air was tense but without problems. The automatic landing systems at the spaceport still worked, guiding them to a diplomatic landing spot through the windows. They could see the big facility, but no people. No movement. Air is good to breathe. G confirmed after running tests, no sickness or poison. I do not like this. Hyun said, checking her non-lethal defense gear. It feels like walking into a trap or an empty building. Dae argued. Tae led the small team down the ramp onto Earth ground. The spaceport was strangely quiet but perfectly clean. No signs of fighting, no evidence of disaster. Just emptiness. Over there, G pointed to a ground vehicle that was coming from the terminal building. It was an automatic vehicle, no driver. The vehicle stopped before them and a light message appeared. Welcome, diplomatic envoy. Tae, please get in for transport to meeting point Alpha. Your questions will be answered there. The team looked at each other. They were expecting us. Dae said quietly. And preparing. For us. Hyun added, her hand hovering near her stunner. Tae stared at the waiting transport. We came for answers, let's go get them. The journey took them through Geneva, a city that should have been full of activity. Instead, they saw only a few people, walking who paid them no attention, and automatic systems doing tasks usually done by humans. After 30 minutes, they arrived at a plain building near the old United Nations headquarters. As they stepped out of the transport, the doors of the building slid open. A familiar person waited inside. Sang-tae breathed in relief at seeing his old friend. What is happening? Why did you warn me not to come? Sang's face was serious because now that you are here, you cannot leave until it's done. None of us can. Come inside, Tae. You need to see what humanity has been building. As the diplomatic team followed Sang into the building, the doors closed behind them with a final sound that made Tae's skin feel cold. Whatever humanity's big secret was, they were about to become part of it. The inside of the building was clean and bright but strangely empty, just like the city they had passed through. Tai noticed cameras watching them from every corner. This way, Sang led them to an elevator at the back of the empty lobby. Trust me, he added, seeing the worry on their faces. I know this all seems strange, but there are good reasons. Tae looked at his team. Hyun was tense, ready for trouble. G was curious, his eyes taking in every detail. Dae was nervous, his antenna twitching rapidly. We trust you, Sang-tae said. But we need answers soon. The Council is close to sending a fleet to Earth. They think humans are building a weapon. Sang shook his head. Not a weapon, at least. Not in the way they think. The truth is more complicated and much more dangerous. The elevator doors opened and they stepped inside. Sang placed his hand on a scanner and spoke authorization. Sang, former Council Liaison Code 73 Alpha 9. The elevator began to move down much faster than Tae expected. How deep are we going? He asked as the floor numbers flashed by. Deep enough to be safe, Sang replied, his once happy face now marked with lines of stress and sleepless nights. Safe from what Hyun demanded, but Sang just stared ahead. As the elevator continued its long journey down, Tai had known Sang for many years. They had trained together at the Council Academy. They had served on diplomatic missions together, before Sang surprised everyone by retiring to live among humans. Sang had always loved human culture, their art, their strange ways of thinking. He said they made him see the universe differently. Now looking at his old friend, Tae saw fear behind his eyes. Whatever Sang had discovered on Earth had changed him deep. Down the elevator finally stopped and the doors opened to a long corridor with security checkpoints every few meters. Tae could sense powerful energy fields and scanning systems checking them as they walked. This facility does not officially exist, Sang explained as they passed through another security door. We are 2 kilometers below the city surface in a complex, built in complete secrecy. Over the last 5 years, only a few hundred people in the entire human government know about it. Why? All the secrecy, Dae asked nervously. Because if what we discovered became public knowledge, there would be panic. Sang said simply, and panic is the last thing we need right now. They reached a final security door, larger than the others with multiple scanning systems. Sang stood before a full-body scanner. Please understand. he said as lights moved over his entire body, that what you are about to see will change your understanding of everything. The silence, the energy, use all of it. The massive door slid open, revealing a huge room filled with advanced technology screens and people working urgently at different stations in the center of the room. A hologram showed what looked like a map of the galaxy, with something dark moving through. "It welcomed to Project Guardian," Sang said as they stepped inside. "Welcome to humanity's last hope and maybe the galaxy's too." The final hours before Aegis started changed the Sol system into a center of busy activity. Ships from every major species had arrived, not to threaten Earth but to help and watch. A temporary command center had been set up on Mars colony far enough from the Aegis ring to be safe from any immediate energy problems, yet close enough to watch the operation. Tai stood beside Director Seo at the main console, watching as final calculations were processed. The room was filled with the galaxy's greatest scientific minds working with human engineers and a teamwork never seen before in Council history. "The void has speeded up again," reported Jun, who had been chosen as the link between Council scientists and the human team. "New prediction puts it at the edge of the Zendi system in 29 hours. Not the 6 months we first calculated." Director Seo's face stayed calm, but Tay could see the tension in her shoulders. "It's responding to the increased communications in this area despite our care. The emergency council meetings and fleet movements have created quantum noise, so it knows we are aware of it." Tay concluded grimly. "Possibly, or it's simply drawn to the concentration of technology activity. Either way, we've run out of time for improvements." She turned to speak to the assembled team. "Aegis will start in 30 minutes. All non-essential personnel should board their transports now." As the room began to clear, leaving only the core technical team, Sang approached Tay with a small device, a personal shield generator modified to the same frequency as Aegis just in case. Tay accepted it with thanks. "What are our real chances?" "Old friend, not the official numbers, but your honest view." Sang's eyes crinkled with a tired smile. "Honestly, it's the most beautiful theory I've ever seen, built in the most rushed and desperate way imaginable. It might work perfectly. It might tear a hole in space-time. Most likely something in between." A communication officer called out incoming transmission from the Galactic Council. The main screen activated to show High Counselor June speaking from the safety of the Council homeworld. "Director Seo, the Council has unanimously voted to extend an honor, rarely given, regardless of the outcome today. Humanity is formally recognized as a guardian species of the Galactic Accord, with all rights and responsibilities of that position." Guardian species. It was the highest rank in Council hierarchy previously held by only the 5 founding races it acknowledged. Humanity's willingness to risk everything to protect everyone. Director Seo bowed slightly. "We accept this honor, High Counselor, and hope to live long enough to use those responsibilities." As the transmission ended, she turned back to her team. Final checks on the Jupiter array. The massive energy collection systems orbiting Jupiter had been gathering power for weeks, storing it in quantum batteries that broke normal physical limitations. A human innovation they had kept secret until now. Arrays at full capacity, confirmed G from his station field generators aligned and synchronized. Director SEO moved to the activation console, her hands hovering over the biological controls. "This is Director Yoon starting Aegis Protocol Authentication Code. Gamma 7 Echo 9. Delta." The computer processed her authorization identity confirmed, waiting for secondary authentication. To everyone's surprise, Director Seo looked directly at Tay. "As representative of the Galactic Council and the species we aim to protect, the honor of secondary authentication belongs to you." Tay stepped forward, understanding the deep meaning of the gesture. This wasn't just a human project anymore. It was a stand for all living things. "This is Envoy Tay of the Galactic Council confirming authorization for Aegis protocol activation. Authentication code to follow." He placed his hand on the scanner. "Alpha 1 Omega 3. Zeta secondary authentication confirmed. The system announced Aegis protocol starting in 10 minutes. All personnel secure for gravity changes." As the countdown continued, the various monitors showed the void's approach. It had already eaten the outermost planets of the Zendi system, leaving nothing but empty space where they had been. "It's bigger than our models predicted," G observed quietly, "and moving with purpose now, almost as if it knows we're trying to stop it." Hyun finished. Director Seo's voice remained steady as she guided her team through final adjustments, compensating for increased mass. Recalibrating field projection angles. Keep the focus tight. We need maximum effect at first contact. The minutes ticked down with painful slowness throughout the Sol system. Ships had positioned themselves in the safety zone behind Earth's solar plane, as far from the projected Aegis field as possible, while still being able to observe. 60 seconds, the system announced. Director SEO opened a system-wide channel. This is Director SEO to all personnel and allied vessels. Secure for possible space-time distortion. If Aegis fails, proceed immediately to emergency jump points. There will be no second attempt. T found himself holding his breath as the final countdown began. 30 seconds, 20 seconds, 10, at 0. The massive energy stored in the Jupiter arrays surged through the Aegis ring. A wave of brilliant blue light exploded outward, expanding at impossible speed. It was beautiful and terrifying at once. The command center shook violently as reality itself seemed to bend around. Them status, Tay shouted above the roar of straining equipment. Field expansion nominal. Director CO called back, her eyes fixed on the readings. First phase complete. Energy shell integrity at 94%. On the main screen they could see the Aegis field, expanding, a shimmering barrier of blue-white energy stretching outward from Sol system toward the approaching void. Contact in 5 minutes. G reported, his voice tight with tension. The minutes stretched like hours as they waited. Then suddenly, the monitors flashed red warnings. Contact made. Director CO announced field integrity dropping 85%. 70% compensating. The field was visibly struggling where it met the void, the beautiful blue light being consumed by the absolute darkness. Not working, called out one of the human scientists. Field collapse imminent. Then Director CO made a decision that would change the course of history. Amplify the harmonic frequency, she ordered. Activate secondary resonators, but that wasn't in the plans. Called Jun, looking confused. The simulation showed. No time for simulation, snapped. Director CO, humanity has spent centuries studying the quantum nature of light and darkness. We've prepared contingencies. Do it now. T saw a determined look pass between the human scientists as commands were entered. New systems came online, drawing even more power from the Jupiter arrays. The nature of the field changed before their eyes, the blue-white energy darkening to deep violet, then shifting through colors Tay had no names for. The void is slowing, reported G, disbelief in his voice. Field integrity stabilizing at 42%. More powerful readings came from the monitoring stations as the changed Aegis field met the void instead of being consumed. The field now seemed to be pushing back, creating a boundary between existence and nothingness. Then something impossible happened. The void began to retreat. It's working, gasped June, staring at the readings, but not according to any model we calculated. That's because Director CO said, her voice tight with concentration. We've stopped trying to hide from it and started pushing back light against darkness, existence, against nothingness. For 15 tense minutes the struggle continued. Monitoring stations across the galaxy reported the void's retreat, accelerating away from the Sol system, moving back toward the galactic core. Then suddenly, field connection lost. Void signature no longer detected. G reported, his voice shaking with emotion. Did we destroy it? Hyun asked. No. Director CO shook her head. We pushed it back, showed it that this sector of space would fight back in ways it didn't expect. On screen after screen, reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The void had disappeared, retreating to whatever dark space existed beyond normal reality. That's when Tay understood the true brilliance of humanity's plan. They hadn't just built a shield. They had created a weapon that used the void's own nature against it. You never planned to just hide, did you? Tay asked Director Seo. You were testing its response, learning its weaknesses all along. Director Seo gave a tired smile. Humans don't hide for long. Tai, we observe. We learn, we adapt, and then we fight back. We went silent. Not from fear, but for focus. Communications are coming back online from across the Sol system, announced Day as if a switch had been flipped. All the human colonies were sending messages again. Space traffic resuming normal patterns. Tay saw it now. The silence hadn't been from terror, it had been strategic. Humanity had gone quiet to work without distraction to save themselves and the galaxy. "How long will this protection last?" asked Hyun, eyeing the readouts. "We don't know," honestly replied Director Seo. "But we've learned so much we can build better versions of Aegis throughout the galaxy. Create a network of protection and warning systems. The void may return, but next time, well, be ready." The exhausted teams began to celebrate as the news spread throughout the system. Ships from 100 worlds sending congratulations and relief. Earth had saved them all. As Tae watched humans embracing each other and their alien allies, he thought about the fear that had gripped the council when humanity went silent. How they had assumed the worst about the strange young species. Now he understood a deeper truth about humans. They could be loud and chaotic and unpredictable, but when true darkness threatened, they stood firm. They fought not just for themselves, but for all life. Perhaps the council had been right to tremble when humanity went silent, but not from fear of humans themselves, rather from the terrible threat that humans alone had be.